you are a monk, is
Yes.
it right?
Yes.
So a monk of what exactly? Like how is it called?
Yeah, so you have many different faiths. I follow the path of Krishna consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I will straight away say we believe in a God as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So you have many faiths, like you also have Buddhism and also Christianity, and certain people they call themselves monks, so they try to be celibate. They follow certain rules and regulations to purify their existence.
Mm-hmm.
So as a monk, we have certain vows we keep up, like celibacy, no gambling, no intoxications. We are also vegetarians, so we don't eat meat, we don't eat fish. And this is all to purify our existence, because we believe we're actually not this body. So I will maybe straight away go a bit to the basic of our philosophy. So the basic of our philosophy is actually we're not this body. We're actually spirit, soul, and we're inside this body. Like we sit inside the car, but we operate the car, but we're not the car. In the same way, we have a vehicle, and that's called the human body, in this case. And through Krishna consciousness, Krishna is actually a name of God.
Mm-hmm.
So we believe there's only one God in the whole creation.
Okay.
And God is the creation and is the creator at the same time.
Okay.
And he has unlimited names because he's God. God means he's almighty, he can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
So he has also unlimited names. So we also, in our faith, we don't disagree with other faiths. We actually say, no, they're completely right. The thing is, we say...
You say they are completely right? No.
Yeah, exactly. So we do, like, what you often notice in many religions is that, they say we are the only way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I practice Krishna consciousness, so I say this is also the best way. Why would I else choose? Why would I go for a second best thing if I can do the best thing?
Yeah.
So for me, this is the best thing. But for us, it doesn't mean that other faiths like Christianity or Islam or Judaism are not also good paths to practice, and we completely acknowledge their practice. The thing is, we are very inclusive. So we believe, that all faiths are right, and God also can have the name of Allah or Jehovah. That's also completely there, because God is Almighty, so He can have any name, and He can come in any form. He can come in a human form, He can come as an animal, or He can come as an impersonal energy. It's like what most New Age people believe in, what Buddhists kind of believe in. They believe in kind of we call it the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. So they believe in an impersonal form of God, which is basically energy. So...
But if all religions are right, wouldn't that, because some religions claim exclusivity. So like most religions claim that they are like exclusive, that they are the only right religion. So this part is then wrong. So if I, for example, if I would say I'm a Christian and other religions are false, that would be wrong. Or
no, in our case, we believe, it's completely right to be a Christian or a Muslim. We don't like say this is a wrong path. The only savior is Jesus, or the only savior is Muhammad. No, we don't say that. We say they're all good paths. The thing is, each path can give you a different relationship with God in the end. So they can all reach God, but to certain extents. So we call it tattva and rasa. Tattva means it's all God. We all try to achieve God. But the rasa means taste. And the reason, and then I will go straight away back why I actually came to this path, and why many people are searching for spiritual paths or religion, is because we want to experience rasa. Rasa means taste, means happiness, means love. So this is what we want to experience. This is actually what makes us get out of bed in the morning. So, you study, you told me you study artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
So you study this, and why are you doing this? Because it gives you some rasa, it gives you some taste. That's the reason why you do it. But for us, we believe the highest rasa is through a relationship with God. So, because God is unlimited, He's almighty, He's an unlimited source. Like all kind of rasa in the material world is temporary, because it's bound to time and space. Spiritual world doesn't know time and space. Everything happens right now, in this right moment. So for us, because we are thinking of these concepts with our mind, but the mind is also something material. So our philosophy says we have three bodies. We have the spiritual body, which is eternal and full of bliss and full of knowledge. Satchitananda, we call this in Sanskrit. We have a spiritual, subtle body, which consists of the mind, the intelligence, material intelligence, and the false ego. And then we have the physical body. So we say in our philosophy, we are a spirit soul, and we take with us the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, from body to body to body. That's called reincarnation. And then according...
What do you take with you?
The mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. Those three...
You take it with you?
Yeah, you take it with you from body to body in the material world. So the subtle body and the physical body, that's both material. So it's subtle. We cannot maybe measure it with in physical terms. It doesn't have weight or something like that. But it does exist, and we are aware of it. We are aware, okay, I'm thinking, I have a certain intelligence, and I have a false ego, like certain things I disagree with. It's liking and disliking, and so on. And we take that with us from body to body. So we believe we reincarnate from body to body. So at the time of that, we build up a certain karma, having done good and bad deeds. And that we take with us to the next body. And then the desire we have in our mind at the time of that determines the body type. And the body we get into. If it's a human body, an animal body, on a higher planet or a low planet. So in our philosophy, we also believe in different planetary systems.
Okay.
So we are in, I think it's called Burloka, that leads to earthly planets. But there's more heavenly planets and there's more darker planets, lower planets.
And you can get reincarnated on a different planet?
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
And there's the science astrology. The astrology is actually a science, it's not what you can see on the television on the late at night. It's actually a science, so we call it Jyotish. That's Vedic astrology. So same like Ayurveda. This is one of the material sciences from the yogis. So Ayurveda. You also have Vastu. That's like how to make a house, like Feng Shui. Feng Shui actually comes from Vastu. And you have martial arts and all these kind of subtle and material sciences are there to help us to navigate through life. So astrology, actually, with Vedic astrology, you can see you're born exactly at this time in this place, in this family, because you had this karma and this desire in mind.
Okay.
So with astrology, they can look back at, okay, what were your previous life? What were your inclinations? What did you do wrong and bad? What kind of pious or impious activities did you do that made how you are right now? And then you're born in a certain time, a certain place, because the planets are in a certain position, and the planets have influence on your mood.
Okay.
So, but this is the subtle science. This is still not spiritual. This is still subtle. So we say so the physical body we leave behind us. So let's say we have a human body. In this time and age, we believe it gets 100-year old, and then we leave it behind and taking up a new body, which can be a human body, but it can also be
we take the ego and the mind. You take it with you.
Yes, exactly.
But how do you take it? Like your memories? You don't.
Memories also, but you cannot always remember it. Why? Okay. Because we believe in our philosophy, we believe that, especially when you have a human body, you've been here already for millions and millions of lifetimes. So you have millions and millions of life forms. And in our scriptures, it said that there's 8.4 million different species. So probably we've been through all or most of them. So, you might even have a memory of being some kind of insect or whatever, You could have even been, like our guru says, you could have been a worm in a stool. Or you could have been an entity on the higher planets where the beings are more beautiful, they live longer. So you could kind of done both. And so there's some people that can remember past lives. There's some people that can do. I cannot, but I know of people that do. But yeah, that you take with us. And there's a reason also, by the way, why you forget it. Most it has to do with the birth. When you're born, being born from the womb of your mother is a very painful experience. That's why the baby cries, because it's super painful. You have to understand when you're in the womb, in our philosophy said there's a lot of worms inside the womb with you, and they bite you all the time. So it's very painful actually for baby. It's really actually not nice to be in the womb.
Wait. But they're not really worms.
Huh?
They're not really worms.
Yeah, there's worms. I mean, not the worms in the ground, but different kind of worms, like very small. Yeah, they're very small, but they bite you all the time. So it's very painful actually to be in the womb for 9 months and be born. That's why the baby is crying so much when it's born.
Why do you believe, like, is that like with the worms, for example?
Yeah.
Is it like tested or something, or is it just?
This is, I mean, I haven't researched it myself, but I believe it's tested, but it's in our scriptures.
Okay.
So I mean, I haven't researched all those, you know.
Yeah.
And for us, it's not the most important thing, but it's there to let us understand that actually material life is very painful. It's suffering all the time. It's duality. It's good and bad.
Yeah.
And so all the spiritual and religious paths, even the Buddhists, you know, they believe that material world is duality. It's liking and disliking. Because vicca dvesa, liking and disliking. And through the liking and disliking, we create attachment and detachment. And attachment and detachment create suffering. And so that's all duality. And in the spiritual world, there's no duality. Why? Because everything happens right now. There's no time and space. So if there's no time and space, there can also be liking and disliking. There's no duality. Everything is...
in the spiritual world?
In the spiritual world.
How do you get into the spiritual world?
So, as I said, like, so we believe there's many faiths, and they have different ways to go to God. So maybe I could show you a map. There's actually a really beautiful map.
Yes.
Maybe you can show. Yeah. So we say there's a material world, and we say there's unlimited material world, and every material world is being overseen, is being created by one demigod called Brahma. Maybe you heard of this name before.
Yeah. Is it?
No, that's this. So this is one creation.
Yeah.
And then there's many creations. And that's just physical creation.
Okay, so every of those bubbles is a creation.
So we are here in the middle. That's the Earth planet, Buddhaloka. And then there's 7 above and 6 below, or 6 above and 7 below. It's in total 14 levels of planets. And there's really unlimited amount of universe. And every universe has a Brahma.
Okay, so every universe also has different planets.
Yes, but the essence is the laws are similar. So, but actually, our universe is really small. We have one of the smallest universes in creation, according to our scriptures. And one planet of one universe has the lifespan of, I mean, I forgot the number, 3 to the number of 14.
Okay.
So, like, that's the time span of a universe, and it's in cyclus. It comes and goes. So we say now we're in Kali Yuga. So we have 4 yugas, and every yuga is shorter. This yuga is about 432,000 years, and the yuga before was twice as long, and the yuga before was 3 times as long, and the yuga before was 4 times as long. And in every yuga, we get to the factor of 10 younger. So in the previous yuga, we say we got 1,000 years old. And the yuga before 10,000, and the first yuga even 100,000 years old.
Okay.
And also in those ages, we were more spiritually inclined. Now we're actually the most degraded in the time span of these 4 yugas.
Yeah.
And in the previous yugas, also people got longer. So actually, there's skeletons being found of people that were 6 meters tall, because they're actually.
Are they really? How do you like?
Yeah, there's also like certain structures. They were also built in in a way that we, according to our modern way of thinking, of our modern way of history, we could never have built such structures with the understanding that we have now of history. But according to the Vedic scripture, like buildings like the pyramids, we could have built them because we were actually spiritually more advanced. We had certain powers. We call this powers by mantra. So in previous ages, people even had like nuclear weapons, like things like that. But this was mantra invoked. So this is like goes beyond like what we can normally understand.
The thing is, like you tell us now, and it sounds like super weird because it's like,
of course,
like, okay,
of course.
People that were 6 meters tall, like,
of course,
like why like they're. Like, why don't we know about this? Like, why should we? Because for me, it sounds like, okay, some guy wrote it down in the scripture, you know? It's like...
Well, we in the West, same like me, I mean, I'm from the Netherlands, so, you know, we read history books that date back to maybe 2,000, 3,000 years ago. And we don't learn really much about what happens before. There's some speculation about it. But when you go to the East, like in India, there's like scriptures like the Bhagavatam, which this map is based on. This dates back from, speaking of, 5,000 years ago. But what they speak about are things that happened millions of years ago. So it has a history that goes way further back. And why are people, the person who spoke the Bhagavatam is Vyasadeva. And why could he speak this? Because he was fully enlightened. So he could see things by spiritual vision. Because I said before, we're Satchitananda, we're eternal, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So we're full of knowledge, meaning there's actually a way to get knowledge, not from reading books, not from hearing, but actually from within, from the spiritual connection, from the soul. So actually the soul is full of knowledge, but because we're so much identified with the body and the mind, we're completely unaware of this. I haven't experienced that I became aware of spiritual knowledge by just being really much connected.
You have experienced?
I have experience, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, a year before I came to Krishna consciousness, the path that I follow, I got the Bhagavad Gita is a book that we study. That's one of our main books and most known scriptures. It's like the ABC of spirituality for us. This wisdom it came to me, and most likely what I believe why it came to me, but this is more speculation of myself, is because I have previous lives in which I practiced this. So this knowledge came back to me.
Yeah.
So that's why. But I didn't have a concept of God. I didn't believe in God. That came later by reading the Bhagavad Gita itself.
Maybe before we go deeper into this, into the beliefs, I really want to discuss or talk about this because it's super the belief structure. I think it's super interesting because it's so far away from all what I usually encounter that you say
it's a far out thing.
Exactly.
Maybe I went a bit too on the extremes with these things, but I just want to say there's things in the West that we are not aware of, and even in India nowadays, not many people are aware of certain knowledge, certain history that is actually there.
But because before we go into this, maybe you can tell a little your story.
Sure.
Where how did you get to be a monk, or
sure.
Where did it start? So you were always here from the Netherlands?
So I'm 36 years old. I'm born in Netherlands. I'm from Friesland. For people who don't know, Friesland is all the way up in the north. We're quite a stubborn kind of part of Netherlands, and I wouldn't say the most spiritual kind of people in general. So, but since I was young, since I can remember, since the age of around 10 years old, I'm now 36. I was wondering why am I here? What's the meaning of life?
Yes, good question.
And not everybody answers. Some people do, some people don't. But for me, even a friend of mine told me you have to stop asking a question. This after 5 years, told me it only makes you depressed, and it actually did make me depressed because I couldn't get answers on school and any teaching that I could get my hands on, as a Westerner. But since when I studied civil engineering, I finished when I was 21, and then I started traveling, going to Australia, and then later on I went with the whole world trip through Asia, and I came in Asia when I was 25. Then I started actually to get in touch with spiritual kind of practices like shamanism in Mongolia and in Malaysia, and also with Vipassana. That's I think we mentioned that yesterday.
Exactly.
So that's
something
So that's a Buddhistic form of meditation, and I kept practicing this Vipassana for many years. And then after this Asia trip, I came back, and kind of life took me along. So I just lived and didn't ask so much. Things were kind of okay for me. But then after around 5 years, I started somehow getting more in spirituality. Some things happened, one of my most spiritual friends committed suicide.
Okay.
So that was kind of a heavy thing for me. That was about a year before I came to the temple. And I got into spiritual practices. I tried, many Westerners try different psychedelics, like LSD, ayahuasca, different kind of South American psychedelics. I tried to have some kind of spiritual experience. I say kind of because now I understand it's not really spiritual. It's actually a subtle experience. But I won't go too much into detail in that because the thing was I was searching. That was the thing. I think I mentioned in the beginning. Why do we actually get up out of bed?
Yeah.
And I said that's to experience rasa, to experience taste, to experience happiness, to experience love. And in our philosophy, coming on a bit back to the philosophy I follow now, is that we believe we're all looking for love, and the only real love is in the spiritual world, like on the spiritual level. We can have love. Everything that we call love in the material world is actually lust. So lust is actually a mirror image of love in the spiritual world. So actually real love means completely unconditional. That's actually love. But in the material world, mostly when people say I love you, it's actually not the real word love, the real feeling of love. And so this is actually, coming back to, that I was looking at what is the meaning of life, why am I here, and so on. This is actually what I was looking for, understanding later while reading philosophy. So I was searching, and this Vipassana and different New Age kind of spiritual practices and these psychedelics, they gave me some, they showed me things, but they never gave me convincing answers. Like I was not satisfied. So then about a year before I came to the spiritual practice, like this one friend committed suicide.
How long was this ago? Like how old were you?
This is like, I'm now 36, so that's like almost 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I came almost 6 years ago to the spiritual path. So yeah, I had like about a year when I was like 29, 30, I had like quite a tough time. I had financially good. I invested in Bitcoins and I could live from that. I didn't have to do almost anything. I had a relationship which was very tough, but very confronting. And I was just wondering myself, like, I don't know, I couldn't see myself like working much longer. I was working in sales, making good money in this also. But I traveled a lot and I thought that, I cannot see myself in any career that will really satisfy me. There must be something else that really satisfies the heart. So I was kind of like in a very down mood for almost a year. And then actually I tried ayahuasca also, just 1 month before I turned 30. And that gave me some insights that I had to go more to my heart. I'm a kind of a mind person. I'm a kind of a, we believe there's a certain science that say there's 3 kind of people. Some people live from the mind, some people live from the intuition, and some people live from the heart or from the gut, and some people. I'm more a mind person.
Yeah.
So then ayahuasca told me I have to go more to the heart, and then I tried different pranayams and different psychedelics, and then within a time span of about 5 months, I quit my job, I quit my relationship. I said, okay, I'm going to quit everything, and I'm going to go on a search for some spiritual essence. I want to look for spiritual essence. And then I looked on the internet, find some temples where I can do some volunteering and stay for free and then get an experience. And then randomly, without even knowing anything about it, I ended up at a Hare Krishna temple in Germany, actually.
Yeah.
So just close to Luxembourg. And I was there for about 3 weeks. In the beginning, it was very tough for me because they let me clean a lot of things, and I was not used to cleaning. I was like kind of an office person.
Yeah.
I was like, for my false ego, it was very tough. But then, like, there was also a German guru, and in our philosophy, we sing a lot. We sing mantras. Mantra means man means mind, and tre means to deliver. So it delivers the mind from the false ego, and it helps out to get the real us out there. And during that, and one of those kirtans, so kirtans means that we're singing together mantras with musical instruments, like typical spiritual instruments that we use in India. Something came out of me like a feeling that I never experienced before. I cannot remember, and I had to cry in the middle of this music. And it was so amazing. Like, I mean, it was first painful, but it was like something in my heart moved. And this is something you cannot. I mean, there's philosophy that describes what it kind of is, but it's something you cannot really describe in words. It was a certain feeling like, hey, wow, this is right. And when it was after these 3 weeks, when I moved back to the Netherlands, I still had like a student room there. I moved back, and I was reflecting, like, what happened there. And I could notice then when I was thinking back on my 3 weeks of experience in this temple, I could see like these people were really kind. A kindness that I haven't experienced anywhere else in the world. That was there. They had a really good philosophy, which made a lot of sense to me. They could really answer questions to me. And of course, I had an experience within my heart that was like really special. And another thing was I was chanting all the time. I was chanting this mantra. So we were chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Maybe you've heard of this before, this card I gave you. So we chant this mantra, and somehow this mantra is delivering the mind and somehow helps you to connect to the soul actually, to the spirit. And I felt that. I couldn't really explain it, but I felt this is something I have to go to it,
Yeah.
So actually at that time I was actually living from the heart. I was like, yeah, this is actually something I have to follow. So then I said within 2 weeks, I didn't have much stuff. I gave up almost all. I said, I quit my room. And then actually I went for another Vipassana retreat, my second or third. And I did this and I had a really good experience. But at the end of this 10 days, like I said, 10-day science retreat, I felt so empty. And this is actually what I will now maybe discriminate Buddhism a bit, but actually I still believe Vipassana is a good reason to exist, because I still practice it, but now with a bit different input. Is that in Buddhism they don't believe in a spirit soul, and that it can be kind of experience some kind of love. It doesn't believe in a person, the soul. So this is kind of what I also experienced. I felt kind of voidism, emptiness, and this is kind of what Buddhists also strive towards. But then I felt I've missed something. And I did this retreat in Belgium, not so far from actually this Hare Krishna temple. And then after this retreat, I felt so empty. After this Vipassana retreat, I said, let me call up this Hare Krishna temple, see if I can go there. Because actually my next place would be some kind of new age place within Belgium itself. But they cancelled on me. So then I thought, okay, where do I go? And I understood this is, it's kind of an arrangement. Because I also understood later on, things are arranged. Actually, we are not the doer. Also the Bhagavad Gita that we study, it says actually, we believe we are the doer, but actually we're not. We have desires, and then according to our karma and the purity of our desire, it will be determined if it will actually happen, and to what extent it will happen. Like for example, if you want to be rich, you can work as hard as you want for it, but if you don't have the karma for it, you will not get rich. And the same thing is, you can have the karma for being rich, but if you don't work for it, you also don't get it. So this is just another thing. This is just another thing on the side. But I felt something was pulling me to it. So I went back to this temple again, and then I stayed for another month at another festival. And then this German guru told me, why don't you come to India? I was thinking I'd go to the Amazons, I'm gonna do again ayahuasca because I had such a good experience. And I said, I was not really convinced about anything. So I said, why not? So I went to India. And I went to Rishikesh, to Varanasi, and to Vrindavan. It's for us a very holy place in our lineage. I had an amazing experience. I could see there's something in there that I haven't really experienced most of, except for the last few months in my life. And it's this is it. And then at the end of, when I turned 31, I joined the ashram, or 31. I joined the ashram, and then I lived there for 1 to 2 years. And after that, I started traveling. So since now 3-4 years, I'm traveling around the world. As you saw me yesterday, I'm distributing books. So in our philosophy, because in some philosophies they say we keep the wisdom for ourselves. So a lot of yoga, our practice is called Bhakti-yoga. Yoga means union, connection with the divine God. And Bhakti means love and devotion. So there's many forms of yoga, and our form is through service, devotional service. And one of the services that we do is by going out and distributing this wisdom with people, like we met yesterday in front of the supermarket. So we believe we're sharing, because we believe we all have a connection to God, no matter if it's the God of the Christians or the Muslims or the Jehovah's or the whatever it is. It's, for us, it's all the same God, but we believe everybody is longing for this connection, knowingly or unknowingly. That's what we believe. I'm 100% convinced by that from my own experience. Another thing, I come from an atheistic background. So when I was younger, I never believed in God. I was even believing the people that believe in God, because, we have I don't know, it's probably in Germany it's similar, in the news you see always this wars between the Islamic and the Jewish people and the Christians, the Crusaders. So, I thought nothing much good comes from religion. But it's, it's not the religion that's bad, but the people that use it, that's actually bad. I could, unfortunately, only see that when I was around 30 years old. So, but I could see this part makes sense. The philosophy makes sense to me. A lot of things were new to me, like these things I explained to you before. I have to say, this takes a leap of faith.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that I've experienced things that that there are people that are 6 meters tall or that were 6 meters tall, you know, but all these other things, the whole philosophy makes so much sense. So why these other things also not? You know, like same like, you know, some people believe in science, but it's not that, you know, we've experienced all those scientific experiments.
Yeah.
You know, there's also a leap of faith there. So whatever you believe in, there needs to be a certain leap of faith, else you will not really move forward.
But it's not fully the same, I would say.
No?
I don't know, like, because in science...
So, I mean, simple science, yes. I mean, simple science you can experience. But if there's like very advanced science, like for example, okay, well, another heavy thing. We believe we never went to the real moon.
Okay.
So, I will not go too much into detail this, but we believe we actually never really went to the real moon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if you look at the videos when the Americans went to the moon, you can see actually there's like, you can see props of like a studio. You can actually see that because they're actually very low quality video. You can actually see, I never really researched it, but I believe it on what the people that research it say. And, you know, how can we say it's true? Because we believe someone that says it is. You know, we believe that media.
Yeah, I wouldn't say maybe that's not fully science, but like science, the point in science is that you can theoretically do the same experiment and get the same result. And if you don't get it, it's going to get changed. And like if you say, for example, there were people that were like 6 meters tall or stuff like this.
I think that I for sure can, there's proof of. There's a city called Dwarka in front of the west coast of Jaipur. Like, I don't know, I'm really bad with geographics these days. But there's a sunken city, and that's actually described in one of the scriptures from 5,000 years ago, and it's really there. Our scriptures describe this city, and it's really there. And actually, the modern archaeology, they don't acknowledge it. There's a person in our philosophy, Michael Cremo, I think his name is, and he has a book. It's called Forbidden Archaeology. Forbidden meaning it goes against the narrative of the Western history. So there are archaeological findings, like for example, this 5,000-year-old city, which doesn't go along with the history in the West world, for example.
Who in the West would be like, yo, we don't want to see this new...
I don't know, because it doesn't fit certain way of thinking. I mean, it's actually not so important.
Yeah.
It's actually not so important for philosophy, but there's, you know, the modern way of thinking, especially it's mostly atheistic. Yeah. And so certain things, you know, I cannot really say specific things, but they go against, a certain way of thinking. So it doesn't align with each other.
Yeah.
You know, same like evolution theory. It's a theory. It's not proven per se. It's a theory. That's why it's called evolution theory.
Yeah, everything is a theory. Nothing's proven in science. Yeah.
In science, yeah. So it's all theory. Until we all believe in gravity because we can experience that. Yeah. But certain things are theory. So evolution is a theory. Yeah. But we accept that, and actually history is also a bit based on Darwinism, because it's kind of so it's very hard to change that.
But it's a really good theory. Like there's a difference between the theory. Like there's a difference between like the theory of evolution and just saying something. Like
of course. But it's still a theory. I mean. There's also a theory, before I came to this Krishna coin, there's also a theory that we came from, I don't know, maybe you heard of this Anunnaki. Maybe you heard of this before? No, never? I don't know, some kind of conspiracy theory, you know, like, I don't know, somehow a lot of people that get into spirituality get into conspiracy stuff. Yeah. I mean, that we come from aliens or something. Yeah. So that's also theory. That could be as right as the other one.
No, that's not the same. Because I think in, like, for example, evolution theory, there is a lot of evidence for the theory, and a lot of people try to disprove it, and there is not good evidence found to disprove it, and there is, like, of course, you can never prove a theory, but you can try to refute a theory, and if you're not able to refute it, you can keep it as true. Like
I mean, the thing is, most people, if not all, they want to understand things. Why are the things they are? Yeah. And so some people lean towards evolution theory, some people lean more towards the Bible, story of creation.
But
and some people, believe, for example, what I believe is the Vedas. Yeah. I mean, I don't go too much into evolution theory because part of it is, part of the essence is probably true. But the thing is, as I said in the beginning, we are not the body. So it's not us that we that change, The essence, us, stays the same. It's spirit, soul. Okay, matter can change over time. It can be molded. Like, if you put an apple there for a week, it starts to rot away.
Yeah.
But so material change, but the spirit, soul, it always stays the same. And that's actually, having said all these things about evolutionary, the sunken city, people being 6 meters tall, it's actually not so important. I mean, this is just some things to show, like, okay, there's things in the world that we are not aware of, and that could be true. But actually, more importantly, I mean, what's really the essence of our philosophy is, what do we in the end want to know in life? So
what do we want in our life?
Yeah, what do we want in life? I think that's even the name of your podcast, no?
Yeah. No, my podcast is. I'm not sure if I changed the name. It was called Rational Optimization in the beginning, but I'm not sure if I want to keep this because maybe I'm going to just call it the Elias Schlie podcast. So my name. So it's because I wasn't. I called it the Rational Optimization podcast, and my question in the beginning was also like, what is, all things considered, the most rational thing to do? And then I talked to my neighbor who is an Ayurveda practitioner, and he was like, yo, Elias, this question is inherently flawed. Like, this question is not the right question you should ask. And then like we talked a bit about it, and and turns out that like the essential question I'm asking is how to live life. That's the main question. So I don't have to, like, if I say what is all things considered the most rational thing to do, there are already a lot of presuppositions in this question already. And in the question how to live life, this is open.
Yeah, this is also a thing I'm actually asking myself. I'm actually now a monk.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that everybody that practices philosophy is a monk. Most are not, especially nowadays.
Yes.
So I'm also thinking to get married and to have maybe a family or whatever.
You can stop being a monk.
Of course, it's not like there's different levels of monk. There's people that just want to be a monk for a week, just to experience living in an ashram, in a temple. People do it for a year. People do it until they finish their studies. I think I fit more in that last category. And then there's people that stay it for life, and that's a very rare thing. Why? Because especially in the Kali-yoga, and now this age, we're very much attracted to the opposite sex, or same sex in case sometimes. So that's very hard to overcome. So that's why you also unfortunately see, even in our tradition, I will be very honest, it happens that some monks or gurus, we call them sannyasis, they're like completely renounced, and in some cases they abuse another person, child sometimes even. And you see that in all religions. Why is that? Because the sex attraction is very, very strong to overcome. And that's like, sex is the most strongest form of lust. What I explained before, lust is the exact opposite of love. That's very hard to overcome.
Exact opposite? Isn't it like a weaker form of love or something?
No, the exact opposite. So means love is the good side and lust is the bad side.
Okay.
So lust is the material form of love in the spiritual world. There's no, as I said, there's no love in the in the material world. There's only lust. There can be love experience, but then it means it's spiritual. And so that's why for most people, in my case also, I know it's for me, I have a desire still for women, and it's something that will stay very long. Desire for having a relationship with a lady, and that is something that's very hard to overcome. And also other things. There's certain reasons why a person cannot stay monk. Like for example, I have too much desire for independence. Normally, if you're a monk, like I'm kind of independent now also, but normally if you're a monk, means you're under authority of a senior monk, of a senior guru, of a temple. So normally that should be the case. But I have too much. It's probably also a bit Western mindset. In India, the percentage of monks is much higher because it's in the Western world we have kind of independent nature. It's kind of common here. So but I don't know why I came to this.
No, we were talking about podcast. how to live life. And
yeah. So yeah, like coming back, to how to live life.
Yeah.
Actually, Ayurveda comes part of this. Astrology also. Like, there's a book which has the title "Chant and Be Happy."
Mm-hmm.
So one thing is, so we chant, we do mantra meditation, and that can help you to get in touch with your inner ananda, inner happiness, bliss.
Can you make an example of chanting? Like what is?
So we have it here. So we chant on beats. Let me see where. So I don't know. There's a lot of yoga practices. Even the Rosary Christians, they chant on beats. Did I take it with me or not?
Phone or?
No, we have a japa. It's called a japa mala, and it's made of holy basil tree.
Okay.
And on this we chant mantras. So let me see. Maybe I have it here. So on this we chant. Yeah, here. So we have a bag, and in this there's like a beat of 108 beats. So this is 108 beats.
Okay.
And we make a circle around here 16 times. It takes us about 2 hours, and we have to do that as a vow every day.
When you monk.
Yeah. Anyways, if you want to get initiated, so in our tradition, at some point you get initiated.
Yeah.
And it means you're in parampara. Parampara means in line of succession. So our lineage goes all the way back to 5,000 years ago. So there's an unbroken chain of disciplic succession all the way to 5,000 years ago. At the time that, according to Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures that we have, that God, in the form of Krishna, was actually literally having a pastime, having activities on this material world in India, in Vrindavan, this place which I visited many times. And when we take a vow to our guru, we say that there's a few vows we make. First, there's 4 things we shouldn't do. One is no illicit sex, so only sex within marriage, and on the highest level, that's to procreate, to make children, to make those children also spiritually aware and advanced. This doesn't always happen because, especially with Westerners, we have very much inclination still to sex because it's a desire which is very hard to give up. Then there's no meat eating, no fish eating, no egg eating. We only consume vegan products and milk products of cows. And then there's no gambling and no intoxications in any form, not even tea or coffee, which is not so bad. That some are bad, but like definitely no drugs, heavy drugs. And then another vow is to chant 16 rounds a day.
So how does it work?
So if we chant, so we normally have this in the bead bag, we chant the mantra.
Yeah.
I will show you later. It's the Hare Krishna mantra. It goes Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that's 1. And then we do that like 108 times 16. And that's like a minimum we have to do every single day.
And always you say it aloud?
Loud and soft and even silent. Yeah, there's different reasons for different. And within this name, even the Bible says the name is non-different from the person himself. So these names, so these are 3 names, Hare, Krishna and Rama. These are all names of God. There's another interesting thing. In our philosophy, we say God is women and male at the same time.
Women and what?
Male. He's male and female at the same time.
Yeah.
So he's man and women at the same time. So Hare is female and Krishna is male and Rama is also male. And these names have so many meanings and so many potency. But the basic meaning of this total mantra means, please Krishna, Radha and Krishna, of Hare and Krishna. Radha is another name of the female form of God.
Yeah.
Please engage me in your service. Why do we pray for this? It's because we're very much under Maya, under the illusionary energy. So Maya, probably heard of this word?
Maya?
Maya. No. Maya means illusion.
Okay.
Illusion. So the material world is actually, illusionary energy. It's made up out of the 3 modes of material nature. Goodness, passion, and ignorance. And these 3 modes, they mostly determine our actions.
Yeah.
And so as I said before, we believe often we are the doer. But our philosophy says, no, we're not the doer. We think we are the doer because of the influence of the false ego. As I said, a part of our subtle body. We think we are the doer, but actually, we're not the doer. The actual doer is the 3 modes of material nature. And then later on the Bhagavad Gita said, the only way to overcome this is to surrender to God. And the way we do that is to actually pray to God, please let me be engaged in your service, not to be in the service of the three modes of material nature, and thinking actually that we are the doer, the false ego. So actually to try to overcome the false ego, thinking I'm the mind. So mostly when we do things out of the false ego. So actually we're not the doer. Actually the false ego, you're German, I'm Dutch, you're a student, I'm a monk. This is actually all concepts. These are not our true identities. This is just a concept. I'm not even a monk, but I'm accepting the role of a monk because it helps me to practice spiritual life. Yeah. And you take now the role of a student, and that puts you in the mindset. Okay, I'm a student, but this is not the real you. And that's why we have this prayer, this mantra that we chant. Is that is actually a prayer, a begging to God. Please let me be engaged in your service. So I said, we have three bodies. We have the spiritual body, the subtle body, and the physical body. And the spiritual body is basically the soul. That's Atma. Atma means soul. But then there's another Atma, that's Paramatma. That means super soul. That is God inside the heart. And He's continuously speaking to you for eternity. He's always speaking to you. But we don't always listen to Him. But we listen to this guy up here, the mind, the false ego. Yeah. But we say, I want to listen to this. Yeah. And God is not only in here, God is also around us as Brahman, the impersonal creation around us. What the Buddhists want to become one with. And then there's also another form, and that's the personal form of God. It's called Bhagavan. So we believe there's three aspects of God. Bhagavan, the personal form, Paramatma, in the heart, and Brahman, the impersonal form. So this is in Christianity they call this the Father, the Holy Spirit, and the Ghost.
No, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Exactly. This is the same Trinity. So I don't know which one is which, but it's the same concept. So when we invoke one small thing, when we chant these names, because in our philosophy we say the name is non-different from the persons, from the personality of God's self. His qualities. So God has the most qualities in creation, and it has these qualities in an unlimited amount, and it has a certain form. It has many forms, unlimited amount of forms, and it has a lot of beautiful pastimes, which is actually playing now right around us. But we're not aware of this because we're too much in the bodily concept of life. So we're not aware of it. But the fully liberated persons, at least in our tradition, they can see continuously we call them lilas, pastimes. They can continuously be aware of...
Pastimes, those are like God's...
God is literally playing around us, but we are not aware of this. I mean, this is a very high level of spiritual advancement. In this place called Vrindavan, we call them Babajis, like this, completely renounced people. They don't go out to preach, but they stay in one place and they worship God. And they can tell you things about God. And they have this certain ecstasies. They experience certain bliss that we are not aware of, that we can never experience on drugs, alcohol, or even in the most amazing sex.
Yeah. Okay. So when you chant this, so it means you always repeat this. You always repeat this. Yeah. And this will help you to get closer to do the right thing, or like to do
exactly.
Okay.
It helps us because it's a prayer. It's a begging. So we believe everything is surfing. Everything. So we believe everything has a dharma. Dharma means a reason to be, and the reason to be is to serve. So, for example, this camera has the service to film me, to record me. This table has a service to put stuff on. The chair has a service to sit on. So everything has a dharma, a service, a reason to be. So even the soul has a service. And the service is to serve God. Because that is it. Because why? The soul is anandamayi bhyasat. It's looking for pleasure. It's looking for happiness. And the only highest form of pleasure is through relationship with God. That's actually, we're all looking for that all the time. Literally. There's no moment in the day or in the time that we're actually not looking for this. Being aware of it or not, but that depends on our consciousness.
So what we humans do is we try to get closer to God. Or we try to get...
we try to experience happiness.
To experience happiness.
Happiness. Okay. But the thing is, because we are in Maya, in illusionary energy, we're often looking And including myself, even though I'm aware of this, I'm still looking often in happiness in material things. Or maybe you don't act upon them. Like as a monk, we try to not act upon those inclinations that come from the false ego, but they still come up. They still come up. So that's, for example, why we also have this 4 regulative principles of no meat eating, no illicit sex, and no drugs, and all these things, because these are actually some of the heaviest inclinations, in which we can degrade our existence. And it takes time, of course, to get to such austerity. But when we have this kind of regulations, we purify our existence. So it's the process of purification goes much quicker.
Okay, so if we go to the question how to live life, so what would be the goal?
The goal.
Or is there you say the goal of all of us humans is to be happy, right? Or
I mean that's the inherent goal of the soul, wanting to be happy. Yeah.
But is it also in this thing you believe? Is it the thing you strive towards, or the people in your religion? So
everybody.
So you don't try to improve your karma to get to a better world in the next life. No. You just try to be happy in your life.
Yeah, it's good you mentioned about karma, because when you try to achieve happiness,
yes,
even when you, for example, do a philanthropic work like building hospitals in Africa, for example, you get good karma, and this can help you to maybe go to a higher planet, get maybe born in a better family in the next life or whatever. But this is still karma. So that's called karma. But then there's another form of karma that's called akarma. Means activities which are actually karma free. So what we try to do in our philosophy...
Well, karma free?
Yeah, karma free. So there's activities which don't create any karma.
Okay.
And that means that's our activities that are spiritualized. So whatever we do it in yakya. Yakya means actually God himself. So it's an offering to God himself. So whatever I do, like for example, yesterday I met you, I distribute books, that's an offering to God. I mean, this is a consciousness I have to learn to develop. It's not like one on the other side is 100% karma free. But I try to do it with that consciousness. So even when we're cooking food, we offer our food to God. Even when we wake up, the first thing we normally do is bow down and thank God and whatever. So we try to connect everything to God. Everything, even something like brushing our teeth. Why? Because actually this body is not ours. Actually we borrow it from God, because everything is God. God created everything. And so we borrow it.
So when you offer stuff to God, what does it mean? You get free karma, or it's karma free? So
karma free. No karma.
So it has no effect on your karma if you offer.
No karma. Why? Why? Because karma is actually the thing that connects you to the material world. Even the Buddhists say good and bad karma is both bad actually. Why? Because it bounds you to the material world. And we say the same. But there's something higher that is actually good, and that is offering everything to God, because that creates kind of it's not officially called that, but for the easy thing, let's call it spiritual karma. It helps us develop a relationship with God, and that's karma free. So what we believe, so we say we believe in reincarnation, and we reincarnate again and again here. But because everything is in the material world subject to time and space, all forms of happiness are degrading in the amount of rasa. So for example, I can remember, really like eating pancakes.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to eat every single day pancakes, after maybe a week or two, I'm fed up with pancakes.
Yes.
Because it's not enjoyable anymore, no? So I had the same with pancakes. For example, before I came to this path, I was kind of a womanizer, but even sex became boring to me. And that's the highest form of enjoyment, if we believe our scriptures, and also my personal experience. So I noticed that from personal experience and also scripture, all forms of material enjoyment have a limit. There's a limit to it. So it's not there's no unlimited amount of happiness. So that's, for example, that is actually what's driving the industrial engine of development. Yeah. Because we want new experience, we want new rasa, new forms of enjoyment. But this is all temporary in the end. So we always need more and better and so on.
So the goal in life is to achieve rasa, or
no. So the goal in life is to experience the higher rasa, and that is through relationship with God. For us, the highest form of rasa is the relation with God. And there's different relationship with God, and I will not go into that, that's too detailed, but in the end we all want a relationship with God. That's actually, so actually we say, there's a famous song called All We Need Is Love. And the love we actually need is in a relationship with God, because God is the only person that loves us unconditionally. The highest that comes next to it is maybe the love of our mother.
Okay.
But even that is to a certain extent conditional. Why? Because she thinks that she is your mother, which in part essence is true. I mean, this is maybe a bit hard to accept, but it's on the material level too. It's just for this 100 years it's true. But we are a spirit soul, and then the spirit soul moves on, and then that mother is not our mother anymore. Which is just for this time, little time being. She played this role. So actually that love is even conditional. It's not bad per se, but it's conditional.
So we want to feel this unconditional love of God,
and this is actually what we're looking for. Knowingly or unknowingly.
Okay. So this is kind of the goal we all strive towards.
Exactly.
Okay, and so it's feeling the unconditional love of God, or
yes, experiencing that.
Because God loves us unconditionally anyway. And
anyways,
but it just
so God says He loves anyone, anyways, because we're in the end, we believe everybody, not just human beings, every living entity is in the end, part and parcel. In the Bhagavad Gita, we're all part and parcel of God. So we say God is everything.
Yes.
So actually, we are partly God, but we're not God Himself. So we have our individual identity, and God is there. So we are Atma, and God is Paramatma. So let's say, you have here your laptop. So your laptop is, the whole thing. And we are just one key on the laptop. You're this key and I'm that key, and then there's a lot of other living entities. There are the other keys in the other parts of the laptop. So we are this part. So when we all do what God wants, let's say, this computer wants to type a nice text. When we work with Him, then it goes all nice and smoothly. But when we start working against it, it starts to become big chaos. And that's what's happening. And that's when we start to suffer. So basically the real when we always do what God wants, so when we learn to listen to God in the heart, and also even outside of us, sometimes God tells us outside, to do things. Very nice example, our guru, Srila Prabhupada, he's the guru, he's not alive anymore, but he brought this wisdom from India to the West in the late 60s and 70s. It's good to mention him because he's very important for us. Without him, we wouldn't have it. We believe he was a pure soul, meaning he actually came down from the spiritual world to this world. Normally, when you're born here, it means you reincarnated. But he actually came from the spiritual world down here.
When you're born here, you reincarnate?
Mostly, but they did astrology on him, and they could see he had no karma. And the only way you cannot have karma and be born here means that you came from the spiritual world directly. So, this is, of course, what we believe in our science, in this astrology. So, but he was like, how he went through life. He slept every day 2 hours until the time of 82 years when he died. And he was translating up to 60, 70 or maybe even 80 books in the last 12 years of his life. And he traveled 14 times around the world and set up 108 temples. And just from the age of 70 to 82, who does that? And so this shows like, okay, and also the way he behaved, how he behaved. The first disciples were hippies. They were completely on the LSD and stuff like that. But still, they became. Some of them are now gurus. Some of them passed away. But I wanted to say something. What I was saying before.
About the goal, or about for me, it's still like the question of how to live life, and it's
how to live life. So we, as I said, we have 3 bodies. So we have a psychophysical nature. This theory you're probably aware of. So psycho means the mind, intelligence, false ego, and the physical, of course, the physical body. And then, so that's our conditioned nature. That is a nature we've gotten because of our karma and because of our desire at the time of our previous life. So this determines our conditioned nature. You're German, I'm Dutch. You have certain maybe physical ailments, maybe certain mental disabilities. Everybody has something. Has his baggage because of karma, and so there's that part. And then there's our constitutional nature, and that is an eternal spirit soul, which has an eternal relationship with God, and he eternally wants to develop his relationship with God, which is eternal.
This is the spiritual part of us.
That's the spiritual, that's the true, the eternal us.
Okay. So not So of the three parts, this is like the spiritual one.
Yeah, so you have the spiritual, eternal part of us, which wants to have an eternal relationship with God and just wants to be eternally happy in a relationship with God through all ways and means. And then there's the psychophysical nature of us, which consists of the physical body and the subtle body, the mind, intelligence, false ego. And then I will tell you, coming back on how to live life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, how to live life. So we say, or how I always explain it, okay, our ultimate goal is our spiritual goal, developing a relationship with God. Yeah. But at this moment, I'm inside this physical body with a subtle body. So what we say for that, we have Ayurveda, is one thing. We have Jyotish, Vedic astrology, and many other things in which we can check, okay, we have a certain psychophysical nature. So in our philosophy, we say we have 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Varnas means the kind of people. So our philosophy, it's kind of the caste system, but not the caste system. You know, in India they have a caste system. It's not the caste system that you nowadays use, but there's actually 4 varnas, of which first is the Sudras. They're the working class people. Then there's the Vaishyas. Then there's there are the merchants, the business people, the people who herd cows, the farming. Then you have the Kshatriyas, the kings, the leaders, and then you have the Brahmanas. They're the teachers, the learned, the wise. And we say, I mean, there's kind of an estimate calculation that on earth, there's for each Brahmana, there's 4 Kshatriyas, 4 kings. For each king, there's 4 Vaishyas, so business people. And for each Vaishya, business person, there's 1 working class. And we say the working class should support all the 3 higher classes. And the other, the wise people, they should instruct people like, you know, the monks, the teachers, the wise people, the people who know Jyotish, Ayurveda, and the sciences. And then there's like the people who are naturally Kshatriya type. So they know about like what is good, you know, how to behave, how to lead and stuff. And then there's business people. So there's a natural inclination that's just part of you. You cannot change it. That's just part of you. But nowadays in Kali Yuga, most we have a mixture, a bit of this all. Yeah. And so those 4 types of people are there. And then there's also ashrams of traditionally in the Vedic times. Let's say we can get 100 years old. There's 4 ashrams. The first 25 years, mostly it starts at the age of 5. A boy goes to the Gurukul. That's a school where there's a guru as a teacher. So from the age of around 5 years, he leaves his parents and goes to the Gurukul. Until the age of 25, he stays as a brahmachari. Okay. So that's monk life. Yeah. And then he developed so much qualities like tolerance, acceptance, humility, respect, all these good qualities. He develops these qualities, and how to be a servant. He develops this. So at the age of 25, he can choose to become a grihastha. That means he can enter into family life. Normally around this age is the best time to enter in family life. So then, then astrology is there to connect the right partner. Like in India, what happens, and still nowadays, less and less, because of the influence of the Western world, that people get married to each other. They don't choose partner. And normally, also myself, before, I was thinking that's cruel, But actually, when you look back, when you look at the statistics, in India, almost nobody gets divorced. Nobody. Why? Because in the Western world, marriages are mostly based upon lust, upon sexual attraction. It's not actually about like compatibility. So in astrology, you can check the compatibility between 2 people. So, but this is a little bit side thing, why the science is so so good actually.
But so what you were explaining was there are like 4 types of people, and there are like 4 phases of life.
Yeah. So these 4 phases. Well, let me explain. Let me explain. Exactly. Because these 4 phases, like brahmacharya, monk life, then grihastha life, that's for the next 25 years. Normally it's said, then you get a few children, and normally in India the culture, and that's actually, I've seen it, it's actually a much healthier form of culture, is that the oldest son takes care of the family afterwards. And I've seen in India how happy people are, like living in this. In the Western world, we're very individualistic, but it's actually very unhealthy.
But how do the oldest son takes care, because he's like gone when he's 5, right?
Yeah, but then he comes back again.
Oh, okay.
When he comes back, so around, it's mean not exactly, but around that age. Or one of the sons normally takes care. I mean, that's traditionally how it went, and normally they would have a lot of children. And then there's 25 years of renouncement. It's called vanaprastha. Then you, traditionally in the old days, they would live in the forest. They live very, very simple as possible, to become detached from the bodily concept of life.
Yeah.
And then they become so detached, they become very wise. And then at the last 25 years of the life, they can, it's optional also to become sannyas. That means they can become a teacher, and they can become even a guru. I mean, this is traditionally like the normal sort. And why are these things there? Because this is all there for our psychophysical nature, for our conditioned nature, for the body and the subtle. But all with the aim, with the goal in life, to in the end reach God. Why? Because we have all this inclination. We have inclination for sex life, we have inclination to control and all these things. So that's why these life stages are set in place so we can elevate ourselves spiritually, because that's, we believe, is actually the highest goal of life. And of course, you go here, for example, now in the university, the goal here is to learn something. So for the next, let's say, 40 years, 50 years, you can, have a good career. That's the goal. But that's just for this physical life. But if we understand eternity, there's also something we can learn for eternity. So we believe we have a certain psychophysical nature. Maybe we're Brahmana, teacher, maybe we're Sudra or Kshatriya. We have this different inclination. So what is very important for us to do is to figure out what is my psychophysical inclination, and then work according to this. So maybe I have to become an eternal monk, like be monk for a lifetime, or maybe I should have a family. Why? So that our mind is peaceful. So that we are engaged. So our psychophysical nature is engaged, so that we are peaceful and happy, so that we can chant Hare Krishna, so that we can focus on God. But then in the end, whatever we do, it's called karma yoga. These activities that we might, maybe like my idea is maybe I want to do real estate, because two astrologers told me I'm good, I have karma for being good at real estate. So when I will do this, probably I will not have to work crazy amount of hours, and I will be successful in it. So I can be peacefully working on working for my spiritual life. So we say, okay, we do something that we can do and be satisfied with our mind and body, and then with the aim to focus on God. And whatever we do on the physical level, on the material level, we do as an offering to God, because we want to spiritualize in the end all our activities. So somehow we need to connect to God. Like some way people do that is, for example, a lot of people, most people in our philosophy, they're family people. So what they do, for example, they come in the weekend to the temple and they do a little bit of service. Or what they do, they give a monthly contribution. And in this way, they kind of purify their existence also in an indirect way.
So the goal is essentially to, or the way to achieve this happiness that you were talking about, is to follow the type of person you are, of the four types,
and also the psychophysical nature.
Exactly, and also the part of life you're in. So it's like
but this is what's traditional. Most nowadays, it's not very often happening.
But
this is ideal.
Yes, for example, ideal. Like for me, let's say we can take. No, it's not just so we have like a practical example. It's like a person that grew up in the Western world, and how do you think, would you say, like what is the thing that you can, like, so you say we all search for this love, for this this connection to God, this connection to God. How do we achieve this, or how would a person like me or the people listening or stuff like achieve this?
First of all, like our belief is that everybody desires this, knowingly or unknowingly.
Yes.
Even if most people, that when I tell it, they don't per se have to take upon it. And so, as I said before, like, we acknowledge the other traditions of faith. And these are ways.
So you could do it by believing in another faith.
Of course you can do. The essence is in the end the same for most faiths. Except for Buddhism, because they don't believe in a God as a person, and they don't believe really we are an eternal person. We don't have a spiritual personality. They don't believe this. But in general, for most faiths, especially for the famous ones, Christianity, Islam, they all believe in a God, and they want to develop, especially the Christians then, that's probably most known to you, is that they want to develop a relationship with God and experience the love of Jesus. Then in this case, and we say that's what we believe too. The thing is, we see God. The only difference, or the main difference, is that we see God as a person that can take any form and any name and any kind of quality, and He has the qualities in full amount, an unlimited amount, and that relationship, developing this relationship with God, helps us to experience these aspects of God, these qualities of God, and these names of God. Because this name, quality, as I said before, the name, quality, form, and pastimes, they're actually all the same. But because we think in time and space, you have to understand like we try to understand things with our mind, with our material intelligence. And that means our mind is material, but we're trying to understand something that's not material. So it's, it's kind of like, I don't know which famous philosopher said it, but, we cannot tell what is God really, but we can point in the direction. You cannot say, this is God. No, we point in a place, but we can. Why? Why is that? Because our philosophy says we have 4 defaults. We have imperfect senses, so we cannot actually experience everything around us. We easily make mistakes. We all the time make mistakes. We forget. I mean, how forgetful are we? What have I eaten yesterday? I don't know. We are easily illusioned. We are, as I said, we are always in Maya. We're always under the influence of the 3 modes of material nature: goodness, ignorance, and passion. And then there's a 4th one. That's a very important one. Is cheating. Cheating. We cheat ourselves and others very much. I used to work as a salesperson, and just to make money, I was cheating people sometimes. So the first 3, making mistakes, being easily illusioned, and imperfect senses, these 3, we don't have any influence on them. This is just, we have to accept it. But then the 4th one is we cheat, but we can learn to be honest. Okay. So this is actually what comes in our philosophy, like, okay, we can learn to be humble. We can and understand, okay, I'm a very fallen soul. I'm so much in illusion. I make all the time mistakes. I cheat a lot. I do this and that. And say, okay, there must be something that I'm doing wrong because I'm trying to be happy, but it's not really working in the material world. I mean, there is happiness. I don't say that. Like, our philosophy acknowledges there is happiness in the material world, but it's temporary.
Okay.
You can only eat so many pancakes until you're filled up. You can only. I ate one time 1 kilo of chocolate, and it was very tasty in the beginning, but in the end, it was really horrible. So, and that all material happiness works like that. There's a limit to it. There's a limit to it. But spiritual happiness, because it's not bound to time and space, it's unlimited, and it's always increasing. So there's no end point to spiritual realization, to self-realization. This is something that develops until eternity, until no end.
But so
because it's spiritual.
You do this now, and you can take it into your next lives and stuff, or
you keep practicing
because, like, so what exactly would you do to get like closer to God, as you said, or to?
Well, we like as I said before, we chant.
Chanting, yes, exactly.
That's one thing. We offer our food to God. We read scriptures, like the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and other books. Whatever we do, we try to somehow connect it to God. Like, for example, I understand this body I somehow got from God by His grace. So I'm thankful for this body. I'm thankful for association, meeting nice people like you. And yesterday I met actually another devotee. Actually, it was very funny. I met one person after I met you who is also practicing this philosophy. And he knows a monk that is a good friend of mine. He's living now in New York. He's from Bulgaria. Very funny. Nice. So we believe, this God is taking continuously care of us. So even like something like brush. So we are trying to. I mean, it's something that has to change over time. It takes time to. But basically everything that we do, we offer to God. Like, for example, I think that's what I want to say before. When our spiritual teacher, maybe it's good to show a picture of him. There's a nice picture of him. Srila Prabhupada, he's our spiritual teacher. And he came to India, and this man, Srila Prabhupada, there's actually a book with the Beatles. It's a conversation when he met them. when he came to America, he actually never wanted to leave India. But the instruction of his guru was, share this message with the English-speaking audience. And he never left India before. He never saw snow in his life. And at the age of 69, he went to the US with just $7 in 65 and a few cases of books. Yeah. That's all he had with him, nothing else. Then he came to Boston in New York, and it was like big pack of snow, and he was like freezing his ass off. He never saw this, like old man in that time, and then he was 70. Yeah. And he got 2 heart attacks on this boat to get there. So, he had full faith in the words of his spiritual master.
Heart attacks?
2 heart attacks, yeah, when he was on the boat. But he survived, he survived. But his spiritual master told him, go to the Western world, preach, share this message, this ancient message, this wisdom with the Western world. Because this is needed. And he took that upon him. He first tried to share it in India, but somehow it didn't work. Yeah. Somehow it really didn't work. And he tried many things. He tried to make a lot of money. He was actually a chemist. He had like pharmacy business. But every time he didn't work out. Why? Now I understand, because God is behind everything. He takes care. God sometimes even takes things away from his devotees. Why? To put them in the right path, to get his attention. So then in the end he went to the US, and for about 1 year he was struggling like anything. But that somehow some hippies came and they started to pick up this philosophy. And hippies were like, not the most savory people at that time. Mm-hmm. They were not showering, they were taking drugs and, having so much illicit free sex. And it was really kind of counter to, our regulated principle, what I was saying before. But he was so compassionate. He was like, you have to understand, this man was like at that time 70, 71 years old, and he was cooking for them, cleaning for them. He was cooking for 20, 30 people, whole feast. Like, it's traditional, like we have now about, our philosophy is much bigger, but like in our society, we have about 700 centers and temples around, all over the world in 100 different countries. And most temples, they have a Sunday feast. So he was cooking like for sometimes 100 people alone, and people were coming. And over time, then it started to pick up, and then some of his disciples, they went to London and they met the Beatles, and it started. So that's what this book is about. Yeah. And they started to share it, and then over time, until the time of his death, 12 years from the beginning, he came to the West to the time that he passed away. He set up 108 temples, had 5,000 disciples, translated about 60 to 80 books, and it became a household name, the Hare Krishnas. Yeah. And what I want to come back to is on that boat, when he had this heart attack, it's like, why he was praying to God, to Krishna, like, why do you send me to the West? Why do you want me to go? Because he understood that God was speaking through a spiritual master. Because that's actually what our philosophers say. We need a spiritual master because he's one who's bona fide, who follows exactly the scriptures. Who's exactly instructing how God wants it to be, not like have an own interpretation, and does exactly what Scripture wants. So he understood this is really what God wants, and it's said through my spiritual master, and I have faith in it. So then he said to his then he prayed to God, please, I don't know exact prayer, but he said, make me do whatever you want to dance. Let me dance like a puppet. Yeah. Let me dance, let me dance, let me dance. And that is actually the prayer. So why? Because as I said, the mantra, the basic meaning of the mantra that we chant is, please let me be in your service. So the way that he prayed this was with so much intention, and then God was like, okay, I will do it. When I look back at my own life, I remember I was quite depressed around 25. I didn't know what to do in life. I couldn't find answers. Shortly I came back from my Asia trip. And then it actually was funny. I remember because I came in touch in my Asia trip with monks. And I said, if nothing works out in the material world, and I believe God heard this, nothing works out, and in the next 5 years, I'm going to become a monk. And that's what happened. So God hears our prayers. He hears what we say. And because love cannot be forced. So we say, if you don't want to see God, if you want to do everything possible to not see God, God gives you all the possibility. Why? Because love isn't something that cannot be forced. Yeah. Lust can be forced, but love can never be forced because that means that it's not love. Yeah. And so once we really desire to see God, so there's one thing that needs to be there. You need to have the desire to want to see God, because with most things, with all things in the material world, seeing is believing.
Yeah.
But in the spiritual aspect, it's actually the opposite way. It's actually first you need to desire it, and then you can see it, or you can become qualified to see it.
Yeah.
So, for example, when in our temples we also have deities, forms of God, and we take darshan, we try to see God, but actually we try to develop qualities like humility, respect, tolerance, and all these other qualities. We try to develop that so that God sees us more. So as I said before, like God loves us all. We believe God loves every single living entity.
Yeah.
But the ones who are fully devoted to Him and serve Him with love, he says in the Bhagavad Gita, He is most dear to me. He is within me. He is my best friend. And I'm also a friend to Him. He says that. So we become extra dear to Him. So He actually starts to do things for us that to such an extent that He can even save us from death.
But this is so the important thing, or the thing for sorry that I'm always coming back to it. It's like like the idea about life. So the important thing is the happiness. So I tried to explain it to see if I really understand, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. So the thing is, we all humans, we search for the love. Of God and the connection to God, and through the connection of God we can experience this love and this how do you
relationship?
How did you call it, the something with R or the
Ananda?
No, okay, I forgot. So like the
rasa.
Yeah,
exactly. The taste. Yeah, that's the exchange. The exchange.
So this is what we strive for.
Even like our exchange with humans or anything in the material.
Okay.
Gives us rasa.
But we search for the spiritual rasa.
That's the rasa we actually look for.
Okay. Yeah. So and this is what we all humans do. Like even if we're not conscious, right?
So you have to understand. So the soul is operating the body. But when we are confused by the false ego and we think we're actually the body and the mind, we start to not look for rasa in spiritual sense. No, we start to look for rasa in material because we start to identify.
Yeah.
So as long as we keep identifying with the body and the mind, we will keep looking in rasa in material objects.
Yeah.
So there's a saying within our philosophy, we need a higher taste. As I said, rasa means taste. So all forms of lower taste, including any form of addiction, not just alcohol or drugs, but even sex addiction, TV addiction, either sports addiction, all these things can be given up just by developing a higher taste. Even in Alcohol Anonymous, I know you probably heard of this, Alcohol Anonymous, it's very famous in the US. They say you have to, even if you don't believe in God, you need to give up to some higher power, because that's the only way possible to give up actually an addiction fully.
So a higher taste means to believe
higher
in
taste
God.
To have, okay, for example, if you're addicted to, let's say you're addicted to, all right, let's go back to the chocolate. Let's say you're addicted to chocolate.
Yes.
Which is very sweet, but it has like 50% sugar, and you become really fat.
Yeah.
And your doctor say you need to stop eating chocolate and sugar because you will die within the next few years. So then what can you do? It's so tasty, you cannot stop eating it because it's so attractive. But then somehow your friends say, wow, there's this chocolate and it has stevia in it, and it's really tasty, and it doesn't make you fat.
Yeah.
So then you start eating it, and it's like, wow, it's really tasty, and then it's so easy to give up the unhealthy chocolate.
Yeah.
So that's actually what it is. So we have to change our search.
Okay.
We have to just find the rasa. We have to find a different rasa that's higher. So for example, if I look back on my own life, like for example, maybe in the beginning I was eating fast food. But then I started to get in sports, and I started to eat more healthier. And I actually started to enjoy healthy food much more. Even nowadays, I like healthy food much more than unhealthy food. Yeah. Just because of how it makes me feel. Because I experience a higher rasa in eating healthy. And in that way, there you have lower rasa and higher rasa. And that is because it's divided in these three modes of nature. Yeah. Ignorance, passion, and goodness. Yeah. And so ignorance, for example, In Germany, I lived in Germany before, and I was also distributing books. For example, especially in Germany, the train stations are very tamasik, a lot of ignorance is around. Why? There's a lot of homeless people, and they're doing so much drugs around there. Especially in Germany, it's very prevalent. For example, if you go to, I was also in the US when I went to Wall Street, I could really see what's a passionate mood. People who are just running after money like anything. They would do it. They would just walk over here just to meet and to make a meeting, to make a business call. That's mode of passion. And the mode of goodness are mostly the people that do yoga, peaceful, live in nature. And then there's a higher mode of goodness. That's the spiritual mode of goodness, Suddha Sattva we call this. And that is when you have spiritual inclination, when you try to spiritualize whatever you do. And then the highest, according to us, is to God. And then for us, in our case, is to a relationship with Krishna. So we do whatever we do. In our philosophy, is connected to God.
So you want to essentially change your passion, like the...
So we have a certain inclination. So as I said, we're born with a certain karma and desire. And that determines our psychophysical nature. So that can be, we might be more in mode of ignorance, we might be more mode of passion, or we might be more in a mode of goodness, or some combination of those. And so that's why if you look around, if you just be objective and look around at the people you meet on the street, some people are just more rajasic, are more passionate, some people are more in a mode of ignorance. And that's just because of their karma and desires from previous lives.
Do you want to change this, or is it just
according to our philosophy? Yeah, we want to. In the end, we want to go up to Suddha Sattva. So we say we try to engage our psychophysical nature in such a way that we're peaceful. As I mentioned before, maybe you're a Brahmana, you're a teacher, so you should do something with teaching. Because if you're going to be a Brahmana, if you're a Brahmana, you're a teacher, and you're gonna work as a business person, and you completely don't have any of that inclination from nature, you will never be happy. You will never be happy. You will be very miserable. It's like Einstein said it, it's telling a fish to climb a tree, and then that fish cannot climb a tree, and he thinks he's stupid because he cannot climb it. Why? Because a fish is not meant to climb a tree. That's a monkey. He is meant to. So in this way, every living entity, this can be checked with Ayurveda and astrology. You can check it, and also with scripture, just by observation of yourself. You can see, okay, what kind of inclination. It's just your physical and subtle nature.
Okay. So to achieve this,
and this just to be peaceful. This is still not the goal. This is just to be peaceful and to be materially satisfied. But in the end, we want to transcend, get beyond it by developing a relationship with God, and that is done through chanting, to reading scripture, to all the time be in consciousness of God.
So this is essentially what you described, the chanting and the connection to God. This is a way to achieve happiness.
Yeah, this is just tools. This is just tools. So same way like the Muslims, they bow down 5 times a day to Mecca. The Christians go on Sunday to church. So the more you do, same way. If you want to become a good football player, the more you practice, the better you get. Same with everything. So what we say, okay, then if you want to get the best as possible, then do it 24/7. So this is actually why, because in a nutshell, our philosophy basically says, always think of Krishna, of God, and never forget Him. That's basically our philosophy, and everything that we do is there to be able to do that, in the most intimate and loving, affectionate way towards God. And when we love God, there's another thing, that's a side effect of loving God, is you love everybody and everything around you. Why? Because as I said before, God is inside the heart, so not just in your heart, but in my heart, in every living entity's heart, and He's also the whole physical creation. So how can you pollute the world? How can you be meaningful to someone when you love God? You cannot, because you understand God is inside of the heart of that person. God is also this ocean. So when you love God, you love everything and everyone around you, and you don't want to hurt anything and anyone around you.
Yeah, but okay. So the meaning of life is to not the meaning of life, but the way to live life is, or a good way to achieve happiness. Like a way to achieve happiness is through doing those chantings. Like you said that all the religions have something, but in your way, you just do those chantings, you do those prayers with the balls, and so you just repeat that, and over time this is really fulfilling. So in the beginning,
this chanting of the mantras, this Hare Krishna mantra, is very mechanical. So one guru said it's like when you take a medicine. So the mantra is kind of a capsule. But if there's no affectionate, loving, emotional feelings towards God, this capsule is empty. So, when you take a pill, but there's no medicine inside, the capsule will not do anything. It's about what's inside the capsule. So the mantra is a vessel. You can say it's a vessel. It helps, it has its effect anyway.
Like the capsule. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it has its, it has some effect. But if you put emotion, affection in it, so if you have a prayerful mood, if you do it with certain prayer, like let's, the basic prayer, like please engage me in your service, and like basic prayers always say, okay, I'm very fallen, I need the mercy of God, I need the mercy of Guru, please show me where you are. Like there's one prayer I can read it. It's a very beautiful prayer that that I pray almost every day before I start chanting. So because in the end it's about as I said, about what's inside the capsule, what's in what kind of mood, so we want to put spiritual emotions in it, because your mind. If you observe your mind, you've done vipassana.
No, they didn't. Okay. Like I signed up, but like there was no space free. So I was like, they were like, I'm on the waiting list on spot so and so, and I'm probably gonna get in. And I was like waiting for my mail, and it didn't
have you done any form of meditation?
Yes.
Yeah. So you probably experienced that there's a race of thoughts inside the mind. Yeah. So exactly. So even during chanting, we have these thoughts coming and going, and our goal is to bring the mind back to hearing the mantra and understanding what the mantra means. So this first thing, what I said, please engage me in your service, Krishna, is a very basic meaning, but it has much more and esoteric meanings. But for example, one prayer that I read a lot is, it's in Sanskrit, but I will read the English. It's, O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura. Mathura is a place where God lived in this physical world. And also, actually, that physical world is actually a copy of the material world, of the spiritual world. And it says, when shall I see you again? Because of illusion, I don't see God. As I said, God is actually all the time around us. We're just not aware of it, because we have these 4 defects of our senses, illusion, and so on. Because of my not seeing you, my heart is very agitated and has become very unsteady. And so my heart is looking for happiness, but I don't know where to find it. So I start looking for millions of lifetimes in money, in sex, in living in animals, like flying and whatever kind of form of sensual enjoyment. It's all sensory enjoyment. So he says, my agitated heart has become very unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? So this is like a prayer. And when I read this, like when I read this, I feel it. I really, that's it. Because spirituality, if you really want to become spiritual, because the Bhagavad Gita, is a Sanskrit text, it's a 700-verse text. It's been translated in English in 700 versions.
Okay.
But every version has a different potency. Why? Because spiritual wisdom cannot just be translated with the mind.
Yeah.
Because spiritual has to be understood also with the heart, with bhakti. Bhakti means love and devotion. I said we're bhakti-yogis. Yoga means connection, bhakti means love and devotion. So our guru translated it with bhakti. So he understood the full understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, not just with his mind, but also with his heart. So when you read this prayer, you not just read, you have to read with the heart also.
Yeah.
And this is spiritual text. If you really want to understand spirituality, you have to read it with the heart also. You have to feel it with the heart, what it means. So these prayers help us to open up the heart. And with this mood, we try to chant. And actually, as I said, in a nutshell, our philosophy means to always think of God, to always think of Krishna, and to never forget him. So basically, our philosophy says, actually our guru, Srila Prabhupada, actually said first, when he came to the West and wanted his disciples to start chanting, as I said, we need to do 16 rounds. But in the beginning, in old times, the rule was 64 rounds. So in my case, if I would chant 64 rounds, I would have a very dry mouth and I would not have taste. I don't have that taste.
Yeah.
So as I said, we don't have that taste because I have too much material taste still. but it would take me 8 hours. But there are gurus in India that can chant that. They can chant, how much? He was chanting 300,000 names. So that means he was chanting almost 200 rounds a day, every single day, non-stop, 192.
Okay. And
so 3 times 64. So that means basically 24/7 if you would chant at my speed.
Yes.
And this is actually, according to our philosophy, this is, in the end where we want to get to. Why? Because, it sounds very hard, because why? Because we still have so much material desires. We still want to, start a family, travel the world, have this and that experience, do that and that. But in the end, when we come back, we can understand that why are we doing this? Because we want to experience happiness, we want to experience rasa. But the highest rasa is in the end in thinking of God. And as I said, the name of God is, as the Bible also says, the name is none different from God himself. And also his pastimes and also his qualities and form. So when you chant his name, you're actually with God himself at that right moment. The only thing is, because I'm still too much in Maya, I have too much material desires, I cannot experience that.
Okay. What does the chanting, how does it feel for you?
Well, it depends on my mind.
Yeah, okay.
It depends on my mind. Sometimes, as I said, I'm a mind person, so I'm very strategical. So I'm often thinking, okay, I'm going to plan my day like this and this. I'm like, for example, thinking about, I want to start a family. I'm already, planning, I'm thinking to live in California, because California has good climate and it's good for real estate. I said, Astoria told me it's good for real estate. So, my mind goes there. But it's like, we're sitting with each other and I'm playing on my phone.
Yeah.
That's kind of
so this is like chanting while you think about
something else.
Yeah.
So it's just empty capsules.
Yes. Yes.
So this prayer that I was reading, that's actually, there's many of such prayers from many gurus, acharyas, we call them, teachers from our lineage, that have prayers. And we can understand them intellectually, but we have to feel them in the heart. And then when you feel it, then, sometimes I'm lucky, and then what they say, then God starts to dance on your tongue, and you start to feel it.
Okay.
And you start to taste. You actually literally can taste something in your saliva. And that is, I actually experienced that once or twice.
Okay.
So, but to experience it all the time, and to not want to stop chanting, that's a very high level. In the beginning, mostly of when you start this, you get some taste. It's like, an introduction. Like, when you have a first 3 months, you get half price.
Yeah.
You get some introduction.
You have this in the beginning?
Yeah, most people, they get in the beginning. It can be a week, can be even sometimes a few years. But then after some time, you have to work with it. Why? Because we have to purify our existence. We have to purify our false ego. So we have to qualify ourselves. As I said, it's not about seeing God. No, it's about qualifying yourself by developing qualities like humility, tolerance, that God wants to see you. As I said, God is loving to everybody, but he's extra dear to his devotees, to his people who really want to be with him in a loving, affectionate way. So when you have that, and when you have this all the time, like there's a prayer. It's a very beautiful prayer. It's actually God came to this earth 500 years ago, according to our tradition, and he gave us actually the chanting of these mantras. And he gave us actually only one prayer of 8 slokas. And one sloka is Trinata Pisunichana, Torora Pisuyisna, Amanina, Manadena, Kirtaniya, Sadahari. And it says like, one who is more tolerant than a tree, because a tree, no matter if it's winter, summer, hot, he always is tolerant.
Yes.
Just stands there, gives us shade, gives us fruit, no matter what, he's only serving. If we're in this mood, and when we're more, we're more tolerant than a tree, when we're more humble than a straw in the street, so, being completely flat like a straw in the street, being respectful to all others, and don't expect any respect in return, no appreciation at all, in that state of mind, one can chant the name of the Lord constantly. That's what this prayer says. But, we're not always tolerant, mostly not. I being a monk for almost 5 years, I also get angry sometimes, more often than not. Unfortunately, more than I wish to.
Yeah.
And I'm not always respectful to others, because this is, as I said, this is false ego. Because on the spiritual level, we understand we are very fallen actually. Because we identify so much with the mind and the body. So this prayers help us to put us in our understanding. I'm a soul, but I'm identifying too much. And when we put us inside this mindset, then we can actually chant the name of the God constantly with rasa, with taste.
Okay.
And then actually, when we get this taste, then we will experience and understand there's nothing higher than that. Our philosophy says, and I had some experience of this.
When you're in this chanting
when
flow,
in this flow, this flow, then I can say, it sounds weird on a materialistic point of view, but that is even better than having the most amazing sex in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something to say.
Yeah.
And I can tell from personal experience, I had quite some physical experiences. So
Okay, crazy. But yeah. What was for you? What was like the point where you were like, that this is like the thing you want to believe in? By the way, it's
I'm just checking the time. Maybe
we can
15
do like
minutes or something.
15 minutes, and then okay. So what was the point that made you like, okay, I'm gonna become a monk, like this specific like religion?
Yeah.
Or in this like what was the thing that got you to this specific?
Yeah, personally, like there's another thing. We don't call our philosophy per se religion.
I was also not sure.
Because there is a religious, like we believe, like when I explain religion and spirituality, I say religion is actually the outward practice. So for example, chanting, certain things, the Islam, they bow down and they dress in certain ways. Actually, normally in the temple, we also have certain dress that we wear as monks or in a tradition. This has more to do with religion, but we are actually more spiritualists. So, even when, as we met yesterday, I was distributing books. Even when I meet a Christian or a Muslim, I say, we're not about converting people. This is not important for us. What is for us important is to help people learn to love God and how to do that properly in a good way. And understanding that we're actually spirit, soul, and we're all the same actually on a spiritual level. I mean, we have different relationship with God, but in the essence, we're all the same.
Yeah.
We all have, we're all the same. We all want a loving relationship with God. So that is there. And your question was why I chose this path.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's just, that we are actually a spiritual teaching. Why I came to this path, like first of all, I was searching. I've seen quite a bit of the world before I came to this path. I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
I volunteered at a temple. And normally I'm a person that researches things before I get into something. But somehow I was so desperate and I really wanted something. And when I came to this temple, I stayed there for 3 weeks. As I said before, I could see these people are really happy, a happiness that I haven't experienced. Mostly they say people in Asia are happier than Westerners because of simple life. But they were also, some of them were also just wealthy people. Some of them are really wealthy actually, but they just have some happiness that I couldn't explain at that time. But definitely they were happier than most other people I saw. They could answer my questions. What's the meaning of life? Why is the suffering? Who am I? This kind of existential questions very clearly, and I really believed it. I was like, this makes sense to me. Yeah. And a year before that, I had the experience of, at that time I downloaded the Bhagavad Gita. So that's the scripture that we study. It's kind of like the Bible for the yogis, and kind of like this wisdom came to me in a big part. Yeah. And when I spoke to these people, this is exactly how I think about life. It makes so much sense to me. And another thing, I said that sometimes we call the kitchen religion. Why? Because we have the most tastiest vegetarian food in the world, and it's our secret weapon. And actually, there's a nice thing in our path. The easiest way to make spiritual advancement is just by eating prasadam. Prasadam means mercy. And when we offer food to God, or when we offer anything to God, we call it prasadam, we call it mercy. So by obtaining this mercy, by eating the physical form of mercy, but through food, we make spiritual advancement. Very, very interesting. Yeah? So, and when I was eating this food, I really tasted the difference. I mean, it's very hard to describe this word, you have to really experience it, but over some time I started to experience when I was eating, for example, pizza at the pizzeria outside. Yeah. Or eating a pizza or whatever kind of food in our temples, I could see there was an ingredient missing. And that ingredient is bhakti, the love and devotion.
Yeah.
That is, you know, like whatever we do, we try to do with bhakti, love, and devotion. And I could feel that in the food. I could feel it in the people, in the interactions, and yeah, the philosophy made sense to me, and something changed in me. As I said, I had to cry, and I felt something in my heart that I cannot remember ever having experienced such a feeling.
In which situation? When you were
while
the chanting?
Yeah, we were. Yeah, but like as a group. So we chant. So we have two forms of chanting, basically, or actually three main. One is alone, with this japa mala, with this beads, we call them. And another form is together, sitting down in the temple. So then one is singing one time, and the others are repeating. So we sing mantras.
Yeah.
So, you know, this Hare Krishna mantra we sing, and then the group responds. So there's one lead singer, and that's accompanied by different instruments like kartels, madanga, and harmonium, which is actually invented in Germany. Funny, I think. Chance. So this is the way, and sometimes we go out on the street and do the same thing, you know, with music instruments. We sing one leads and then the other repeats, and then people can, because we believe when we hear this name, purely or impurely, it will have an effect on our consciousness. Yeah. Because in the end, the way we look at life has also to do with our consciousness. Like I often say on the street, very simply, and basically everybody agrees with it, is the way you look at life now is different from 10 years ago, maybe even a day ago, because you've experienced something, you heard something. So reading the scriptures, chanting these names helps us to purify our consciousness so we can see the world from a higher point of view. Yeah. So I call it sometimes putting the Krishna conscious glass on, seeing the world through a spiritual view. So having a higher view. So like, you know, there's different levels of consciousness. In yoga they call it the how it's called, the kosha, the 5 koshas, I think, if I remember good. It's from Ayurveda actually. So there's Annamaya, Pranamaya, Anandamaya. Some people just live for food, like animals, for example. Their way of existence is to live and eat. Some people live, you know, okay, maybe there's a higher purpose, and some people live and there's God. So there's different levels of consciousness, the way you know, go through life. So there's 5 main ones. I don't know exactly them by head, but like, yeah, there's 5 main ones. So in this way we live through life, and why was saying this again?
I think we're still at your
why
yes.
Yeah, so for me it made a lot of sense. Like the philosophy made sense. The people really, you know, they look happier than any kind of person I met, and I mean, who doesn't want to be happy, you know? I mean,
true.
And happiness is kind of experience. Like the highest form of happiness is love. Love is, you know, kind of an exponential form of happiness. And yeah, the philosophy made sense to me. I mean, they had amazing food. And anyways, I was very attracted to the simplistic life. Yeah, nice. And I didn't know anyways what to do. I was, you know, I was ready. Like, to come to a spiritual path, at least for Krishna consciousness, what I practice, they say there's 4 kind of people that come to a path. One that's very distressed, or just distressed. Then there's another person who desires wealth. That's what you often see in India. In India, a lot of people worship Shiva. Why? Because Shiva, I don't know if it's true, but they say that he gives very easily wealth. Yeah. He's easily giving material benefits, but it's actually not spiritual. But this is one way. And then there's another one who's just inquisitive. So I could see you might be a bit inquisitive. Yeah. And then there's another one who just wants to know about the absolute truth. And so often there's a combination. I think, for me it was not wealth, but the other 3, they were all there. Yeah. And mostly there's always a component of distress. So, and I was distressed enough probably, like as I said before, like there was 5 years before I came to the temple, said, if nothing works out for me to be happy, then let me become a monk. And probably God heard it, and then 5 years later on the line, he made me very distressed and said, okay, now you're ready. Come over. So then I came to this temple, and very quickly, like that was in May, and then after half a year, I went, less than half a year, I went to India, and then in January the year after, so maybe like 8 months, I joined into the ashram in the temple, and I stayed there for maybe 1.5 years. I noticed it was not really for me, I have too much independence, so I decided to travel. Yeah. And now since maybe like 3-4 years I'm traveling. Yeah. And
One last question.
Yeah, sure.
Is there something small, something like, for example, chanting or something that I or people that listen to this is interesting could try to like, just like to experience what you experience a little bit, like in a.
Yeah, well, as I said, to do anything, there needs to be a desire.
Yes.
So, like, there's different stages. Like, to come to this path of Krishna consciousness, I first, did other spiritual practices. I also practiced for quite some time Ashtanga yoga, because actually Ashtanga yoga brings you, I said it before, like you have a mode of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Actually, yoga is a sport. So even sports you have in different modes. It's passion or goodness. So yoga and swimming are, for example, the mode of goodness. So for us as monks or yogis, yoga, physical yoga, and swimming is actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Especially swimming or wrestling even. Yeah. Wrestling is good for brahmacharis, for the monks. But for example, running, I notice it even when I run, I become very rajasic, very passionate. And it's very hard for me to get rid of this energy.
Yeah.
So actually one yogi told me, when you go running, you have to do shavasana, like lying down. So, but yeah, coming back to your question, I think it's important, like, okay, what is your desire? But I mean, from my point of understanding of reality, I believe, and I'm 100% convinced, that, as I said before, we're all looking for love, and the eternal love we look for is in a relationship with God. So, to give something away, I would say, to see what can you do, and where you need to have you need to feel attracted to it. Why are we doing anything? Because we attract. Why do we marry any girl normally, even if it's on them, as I say, out of lust? It's because we're attracted to that person. Some people could say, "Oh, this lady is so beautiful, and she's so interested in you," but you're not attracted to her because you have a different attraction. So, it's not said that everybody has to pick up my path, Krishna consciousness, but everybody should practice Bhakti-yoga. Why? Because yoga means connection, and Bhakti means love and devotion. So through love and devotion, you yoke to God. So it can be Christianity, Islam, or whatever. And you could start with, physical yoga, and you could start with, chanting mantras. Of course, I mean, I am, of course, practicing Krishna consciousness for a reason. I mean, why do I choose this path and not Christianity or Islam? Because for me, my personal experience is, this gave me more rasa, this gave me more taste. I could see the people that were practicing this were, according to my experience, most sincere. There were a lot of sincere people in this. It's kind of an elite group because, as I said, we chant 2 hours a day. It's not an official rule, but actually we should read 1 hour a day the scriptures. Why? Because to train our mind to think of the right things. More even, if possible, and chant more, as much as possible. 16 is just the minimum. So, you start with something. Like when I started, when I started with Vipassana, in the beginning we did 10 hours of meditation, 10 days in a row. But when I came away from that, it slowly went down to 20 minutes a day in the morning. But then, you start with something small and then gradually build it up. I mean, if you want from one on the other day, you cannot run the marathon. You have to work your way up. First you run 1 kilometer, then 2, then 3, and then gradually work your way up to, 42 kilometers, I think. So it's like, so you start. But I do believe if you're convinced that we're spirit soul, and we're not the body and the mind, you can ask yourself, why am I spending so much time on my body and my mind and not on my soul? When the body and mind is just here for, if you're lucky, 80, maybe 100 years, if you're very lucky. Why do we spend 4 years or 6 years in a university spending so much time? So like one guru said, a very nice thing, in university or in school, you learn what to think. But in the temple, you learn how to think. So what will last you longer? Like, for example, when I look back, I studied civil engineering. It's now about 15 years ago when I finished. When I look back, I'm like, I cannot remember almost anything of what I learned there. That's the very, very basics. So that's the mind, it forgets very quickly. So even just in this life, how long does it stay with us? Even in high school, I was thinking, why am I learning French? I don't like speaking French, but I had to. So, in a material sense, we learn so many things. I heard once, 80% of what we learn in school, we forget after 1 year.
Probably that's possible.
So it's like, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't say stop university, I don't say that.
No.
but I do want to stress the importance of spiritual practice, that it is actually more important, but it doesn't. Okay, there's one rare case where it can take away all material practice when you're completely already on the spiritual platform, but nobody is.
Yeah.
Only like these Babajis that are maybe in India, they can completely like ignore material life because they have so much faith in God that they know that God will take care of them. But we are still too much conditioned. So as I said before, we do something materially, but try to do it to such an extent not to be attached, not to try to become a millionaire, unless you're good at it comes easy to you. So we say in spiritual life, we say, whatever comes easy to you materially is okay. Whatever you have to endeavor for out of the mode of passion is not good. That's kind of a good line. When you start to notice, I'm doing something out of the mode of passion, it means it's not good. It's probably not the thing I should be doing. When something comes easy to you, it's out of the mode of good. And when you have full faith that there's a higher power, that God is taking care of you, you know He will take care of you, of your material needs, so that you can be peaceful and take care of your relationship with God. Because God is in the end in control of everything, because He's everything anyways. So yeah, you can, but you know, to make that shift, you know, for most in the Bhagavad Gita and probably in the Bible as well, in the end of the Bhagavad Gita it says, that's one of the most important and most quoted verses from our philosophy is, abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me and abandon all varieties of religion. So it's not about the outward practice, no, it's about spirituality, about surrendering to God, by serving God, not serving the mind and the false ego. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions, do not fear. So the reason why we don't surrender is because we have fear, because we want to be too much the controller, but actually God is the controller. So we think we're the controller. I had a personal experience before I came to this path that I could see people being moved. I mean, it's hard to explain, but I literally see that we are actually not the ones who are moving our body. And this is a spiritual vision I had for some weeks. It's like a spiritual experience I had, but this is, I mean, this gives me faith, of course, that I had this experience, and this is hard to explain.
That's good.
But you can start, if you want to pick up spirituality, which I think is essential to everybody's life, it's the most important part of life. You can start, like I said, start with 5. In the very beginning, 10 years ago or something or more, I started with 5 minutes of meditation, and I upped it to 10, 15. Maybe you heard of Headspace? Yeah. I started with this, some friends of mine did this, and then I started with 20 minutes, and then some days I did half an hour, some days even an hour.
Yeah.
And this will help you to go in the mode of goodness. Same like practicing Ashtanga or Hatha Yoga. Especially Hatha Yoga is a bona fide way of practicing. I'm doing this almost every day still, because I have a very powerful mind, and it helps me to make my mind peaceful, so I can focus more on spiritual practice.
Yeah.
So you can start small. We vegetarians, so also when you eat vegetarian, you become more compassionate, because actually when you eat meat, for example, you have more anger in you. Our guru, I mean, it's a big thing to say, but he said, when everybody would be vegetarian, there would not be any war anymore, because it's out of aggression mostly. So I mean, you know, you can do these things, vegetarianism, you know, you can see that's why most spiritual people, like, you know, especially the very dedicated spiritual people, that they're very serious about it. They're vegetarian. They live according to certain quotes. You can try, you know. I started, for example, with the no fap challenge, so I'm not. I mean, this helps, you know. It's like small things you can start. But you know, as I said, there needs to be a desire.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you don't have the desire, you will not pick it up.
Yeah.
There needs to be an inclination. There has to be an understanding. And I hope to you and whoever hears this, that I just planted a little seed.
Yeah.
Because we believe actually, there's a saying in our philosophy, Bhakti Lata Beach, the seed of Bhakti needs to be planted. So I hope with this talk, I planted a little seed, and it will help people to think more spiritually. And do not fear. You don't become a homeless mendicant per se. Some of our people, they're actually very wealthy, like the owner of Ford Company, from, you know, Henry Ford, his grandson. He's now the owner of Ford. He's also Hare Krishna. He sponsored we're building now the biggest temple in the world. It should be finished this or next year.
Yeah.
The biggest temple in the world, the Vedic planetarium in the east of India. So you can be even wealthy and be spiritual. So it's not. So you can still be live in material life, but it's all about like how do you use your wealth? How do you use your material things? You can even be a famous singer like the Beatles.
Yeah.
And they were also very much spiritually inclined.
Cool.
So yeah, the Beatles I use for an example because they had everything. They had money, women, fame, rock and roll, drugs, everything, but they were not happy.
Yeah.
So they, came also gradually to spirituality. So there needs to be a component of spirituality. If it's Krishna conscious, if it's Christianity or Islam, doesn't matter. As long as there's Bhakti-yoga, linking to God through love and devotion, that's there. And in whatever way you can remember God and to not forget Him, as I said, that's in a nutshell philosophy that is helpful. And when you can do that in a way of bhakti with love and devotion, then that's beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Thank you very much for
You're welcome.
Podcast. It was a really nice conversation. And
thank you.
Nice. Okay.
Namaste. Hare Krishna.
Is this what you say? Hare Krishna?
Yeah, we say Hare Krishna.
This has been a Rational Optimization Podcast. I hope you learned something. Guys, I made something cool. On my website, I made a list with my favorite episodes. So if you haven't listened to all the episodes that I already made and you want to know where to start, like there I listed like in the rank of how much I like them, all the episodes, and I regularly, like whenever there are new episodes that I really like, I update the list. The link is in the description. Enjoy.